That's a wonderful opportunity because the secrecy of this agenda is starting to be removed, and that gives us a chance of doing something about it.
That would have to be, excuse me, one of my most favourite things about yourself is, as you say, the connecting of the dots. Having fragments of what you've told and you can see little things, but if you sit through one of your seminars or one of your public lectures, from the beginning to when you get to the end, it's just like the ultimate and I just find it so interesting the way you're able to present the whole picture. So by the time you get to the end of the lecture, you're really quite sitting there actually in a bit of shock and going, wow, because you've seen everything.
The thing is that the more that I travel this journey and the more that I understand, the simpler it gets, and the simpler you can explain it to people. And it's funny because when I first started on this journey 20 years ago, the whole synchronicity of my life was about the five sense, if you like, the daily experience level of this conspiracy, which we've talked about so far today. But then from about the late 90s, maybe about 98, it started moving into other deeper areas. And from 2003 particularly, right up to the present day, and I'm getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this now, the synchronicity of my life has taken me into the nature of reality itself. Who are we? What is this world? How do we create it? How do we interact with it? And it's absolutely stunning, mind-blowing stuff. And it's in this area of the nature of reality, who are we, where are we, what are we doing here, that actually the key lies to bring an end to this playground nonsense that this controlling network of families are involved in. Because the secret society network at the highest level, not Bill and Joe down the Freemasons Lodge, but at the highest level, in the real secretive, exclusive groupings, they have passed over through the, not just the years, but the centuries, it goes back a long, long time, advanced knowledge about the nature of this reality and how we interact with it, and who we are, what the body really is, to the chosen people. And at the same time, and again, we can see this with the colonial powers. It was another part of the reason for colonizing the world at that point from Europe. When the colonial powers went into countries to take them over, they targeted the native knowledge that had been passed over verbally and in other means through the centuries in Africa and Asia and South America and Australia, of course, with the Aborigines. And the idea was to take that knowledge as much as possible out of circulation because it carried a lot of understanding of the nature of reality and also the real history. And as they took that understanding out and replaced it with religion, bricks and mortar religion, and replaced the history carried by the native peoples from generation to generation with an imposed, centralized, decided history of the world, which of course is always written by the winners in wars, etc. What they did was suck knowledge out of circulation about reality and true history and all the rest of it. So they put themselves in an even greater position of power by hoarding that knowledge in the upper levels of the secret society network. And one of the key areas that they don't want, or a massively fundamental key area that they don't want us to understand, is that this physical world is an illusion. And the only place it exists in the apparently physical world outside of us is actually in our heads, in our brains. It's the same principle as the internet, where if you have a computer in Australia or South Africa or London or America, you log into the same collective reality. And you then decide if you want to go to this website or that website and what you think of it and what you don't think of it, and someone else going to the same website will think something different. So we have a unique spin on this collective reality, but actually it's the same collective reality. And we as consciousness connect into the virtual reality through the what I call the body computer, because the body's a biological computer. If you look at the computers, of course, it's fantastically more advanced, But if you look at the principles of a computer and the principles of the body, it ticks every box. And in the Matrix movie, there was that great line where the Neo character says, "This isn't real," and the Morpheus guy says, "What is real? If you're talking about what you can see, touch, taste, smell, etc., then real is just electrical signals interpreted by your brain." That's exactly what it is. The five senses decode vibrational information, including the eyes. They decode what we call light. They turn it into electrical signals. They send that information to the brain, and the brain constructs holographic, apparently three-dimensional reality, which we experience as outside of us, but actually only exists in our head. Now, this is not me sitting in a darkened room coming to these conclusions. This is scientific fact, proven scientific fact. It's just that they don't want to broadcast this, because suddenly we start to realize that the world we thought we lived in is very different to the world that we actually live in, which actually lives in us. It's within us. And if you are a few people who understand what reality is, and you understand that we are decoding reality like a computer is decoding the internet. Now, if you can program the computer, like they do in China, for instance, to only decode that part of the internet that suits the authorities and stops people in China accessing those parts of the internet the authorities don't want them to know about, or the information they don't want them to see, then the principle is exactly the same. The body computer is programmed through words, which are vibrations, which we call the media, which we call education. And once you get one or two generations programmed to see the world in a certain way, that you want them to see it, then their children will be brought up in families where their parents, etc., will program them, not through malevolence, but because that's how they think it is. And eventually you get billions of people, and this happened a long time ago now, billions of people who take on fake identities. They believe that the reflection that they see in the mirror is them, when it's the vehicle that their consciousness is using to experience this reality. They think the world is outside of them, when actually it only exists in their head as a holographic construct. And if you can manipulate the way that we decode reality to suit your agenda, then you can, in the hands of a few, control billions of people. And the way they want us to decode reality is with a sense of limitation, with a sense of I can't, with a sense of little me, and a sense of I have no control over my life. And they've done it brilliantly. And when you start to awaken and you start to become conscious, you move your point of observation from in this world to beyond this virtual reality universe. And you start to look in from outside as your point of observation. And you start suddenly to see things you couldn't possibly see before. And that's when people start to realize the scale, the staggering scale on which they've been had. And this is happening to more and more people now. And this is greatly encouraging, because the more people awaken to the nature of the world we really live in and the nature of the infinite consciousness we really are, then this manipulation can't continue, because it depends absolutely and totally on humanity being in an amnesic sleep in which they are completely divorced from understanding who they are, where they are, and the nature of the reality they're experiencing.
So people who are awakening, who, they want to rage against the machine, that they made a conscious decision to change. What I find talking to people is, you can understand your work and you can see the world now from that different point of observation. But then I think some people, and I've experienced this myself, get overwhelmed with, my God, what can I? At every turn, you feel like how can I make a significant change in a very practical day-to-day level? How can I make a significant change and help with that awakening? What would you say to those people, David?
Well,